Dear people, this piece of artwork is and will be one of my biggest artworks up to date. What I am creating is a body of artwork, work over time, showcasing the growth, the learning, and the expression I hold to certain beliefs and the value of creating. I want to take the time to let you know more about this evolving artwork disguised as a program to tune in monthly. Career-wise, I never knew what to label myself. As a visual artist, writer, storyteller, researcher, musician, director, the list goes on. If I had to label myself, I would label myself as an artist. Artist being so broad and general that you can put anything in there. Truth is, I want to do everything. Not only do, but create and inspire. Personally, in my career as of now, the possibilities are endless. I will soon turn 21 and graduate in the spring of 2027 with a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, also with an added major in theater. Going into my senior year of college, I am narrowing down on a career. As of now, I will be having a career in philosophy, creating, adding to the conversation, researching from the perspective and context of Latin American philosophy. My process will be applying to graduate schools for a master's and doctorate. The decision letters will ultimately be out of my hands. Regardless of whatever happens, I will continue to work towards becoming a professor educator. One of the reasons I want to do more research in philosophy is because I personally use it as a base for a lot of things. You can use it in a way that engages more thought-provoking questions or combine other ways within an interdisciplinary context. From January to April, I developed an interdisciplinary project that held the base of philosophy while engaging in history and the arts such as film and theater. It was titled A Philosophical Study on the Zutsu and Chicano Culture. It was a very rewarding moment, and when I took a step back and saw the work that I did, my way of thinking is naturally interdisciplinary. I thought it was a curse because I would jump from idea to idea and never diving into detail, but I later saw it was a blessing. And for various years, I did projects like music and different jobs in theater that made me want to learn more and more and connect. And personally, I personally saw myself building art and thinking in art and bringing missing puzzles to create the whole picture. I said, I want to bring all sorts of materials that I know, like writing, storytelling, music, theater, philosophy, and art, and more. I want to bring themes and ideas that may be difficult to understand at first through the art of creation. But I further wanted to know where this interdisciplinary approach came from, really. I personally believe it is because of my identity and the way that I communicate. Come to think of it, in some ways, I feel like I've always was in the middle. Exploring and creating, doing my own thing is fun, but it can be isolating. I am Mexican American. Both of my parents are from Mexico, and I was born in the US. I am Chicana. I am the eldest daughter in my family and the first one to go off to college. This sort of background really dictates the way that I think. It is strange for me to go into somewhat of the unconventional route that is studying and having an active career in the humanities and the arts. Because of my personal experiences regarding biculturalism and bilingualism, I fell in the middle in regards to thinking and experiencing who I really am. For example, my first and native language is Spanish. When I was 5, I went to school and learned English. I went from speaking and thinking in Spanish to speaking and thinking in English. I would later think in both languages as one. It was hard for me to say that I truly knew either language. Though I am pretty great at communicating and creating jokes in both, a part of me will always think that I never really captured either language, or that it feels like I am mimicking or acting, or that I don't know how to speak it properly because of my slight accent. I also feel the same about being born in the US and having a close connection to Mexico. I ask myself, how am I so close to a country that I have never visited? I am so close to my heritage. When people ask where I'm from, I say Mexico. Then I later explain that I am Chicana. In terms of communication, it is odd because I will always think that I speak horribly in Spanish because I stutter in certain words, or that I feel like I'm translating from English to Spanish, vice versa for English as well. I feel like everything I do feels a bit off. Like I am doing things, but sometimes while being disconnected. And for various years, I felt guilty of that feeling. Like I was ungrateful to only wanting to speak in Spanish, though how I communicate and bond with people as well through English. Knowing that if I only speak in English and in Spanish, the same would happen as well. I felt like I was compromising my connection with people and to myself. One of these feelings would make me feel like I wasn't good enough, or should I strive for perfection? Especially within my academic work, my personal life, and everything else, I wanted everything to be perfect. Strive high and do the best and perfect thing. I would later find that it wasn't healthy. My mental health and physical health were the ones on the line and got deeply affected by the stress. I knew I was always anxious and I knew I was driven, so why did I have this feeling of I was nervous all the time? And because I wanted to do everything perfectly, there was a lot of projects where I stopped midway or never created because I didn't have the proper information and material. There were a lot of projects where I stopped midway or never created because I didn't have the proper information or material. And if I did create it, anytime I would speak or talk about my project or the work itself, I would feel like something was missing or some idea that is being left out. Again, this thought would be around an art project, like a simple painting. I would later find out the anxiety was on the loose here. Up till the beginning of May, I was sick and tired of these feelings of anxiousness getting in the way of my personal project. I wanted to challenge myself, but the monster called anxiety specifically. I always wanted to do a lifelong art project, so here we are. I have always been obsessed with the following works of various people and their journeys creating their works. I remember following David Bowie because to this day he is one of my inspirations. Within everything, I love that there were interviews and videos of him showing how he would build a song, character, and story. I wanted to do the same. I did something very similar in making an album, but I felt like something was missing. I wanted to include more than lyrics or costumes. For my character, I wanted to build a world the way Bowie did. I was also living my superpower, my art. The way I communicate most of my language when my tongue, words leave me, my art is there as my universal language. The more I kept thinking about it, I wanted to create a meta and unique universe where people can forever engage with the meaning and be inspired by characters and stories. And as I've always wanted to create a show of some sort, I really wanted to carefully construct this to the best of my abilities. Full giving this project my head, my heart, knowing whatever is created won't be retouched ever again. This was to limit my perfectionism and control my anxiety, knowing that I will always have that, but I shouldn't let it define my abilities and potentiality. I've always said this, I always want to know the rules to break the rules. I constructed a structure that was easy for me to follow and easy for me to break. To create this project, I'm constructing the structure like this. At least once a month, create a story and character around the theme or problem you may have in your life. You can mix whatever materials you'd like. That can be music, theater, photography, etc., etc. Very interdisciplinary. This will go on for the rest of my life. These stories and how they're written are inspired by other writers like Jorge Luis Borges, Julio Cortázar, and Sor Juana. Even people outside of writing, Frida Kahlo, Dali, Wes Anderson. I'm inspired by a lot of people and things and reflect in order for me to grow. Also creating a gallery of stories and characters and seeing a change not only in art but in the style of way and the way of thinking. So as I grow older, I will have this to watch. This artwork, also as referred as project, will be written both English and Spanish. This project will act like a book, as I love to read, and this being, of course, being the author's note, is a way to show the why and behind the scene. Then the prologue of the first story will set up some of the intention of the whole artwork that can change at any second. The prologue, as of now, sits being very, very meta and building a whole world away from this one. Lastly, begins the stories of for each specific chapter or episode as named. One more important thing, we'll also be attaching video diaries to show the thought process and any other process that went into this. Studio diaries will be highly instructional, just filmed in real time. Over time, as more stories are created and told, you will see a collection of works like a gallery. This project is about a personal life as research, develop new stories from my own personal life, and ask questions I may perhaps want to answer. My first story in Spanish is to honor my first language. When I was writing my first story, I had a hard time developing any work in English. I was thinking in Spanish. I took the leap of faith and wrote my first official, one I can think of, story in Spanish. I was so inspired and admired by Hispanic literature that the fact that I was writing in that language became more of my language again, feeling confident. I went from reading to writing in Spanish. Crazy. With this thought, I wanted to showcase work as it is. I won't be providing any translations, only subtitles, whether it's in Spanish, English, or Spanish. It's something to show off what I was thinking at the time. So because this character from my first chapter is loosely inspired by my experience and journey, and ending a chapter of what I like to call baby adult era. I will be turning 21. That means I have more responsibilities now. That means adult. I love this project. I love that I am creating a world of randomness all through the power of storytelling. I hope to inspire at least one person, but as for myself, to accept and learn through change without too much worry of perfectionism. One of the greatest things about this format and work is that if I want to do some other project unrelated to this, I can. I am maintaining the disconnect of the meta version of myself from and my stories through here and other activities are intentionally separating the work from this project. This gives me a little bit of leeway and flexibility. I am essentially working on a passion project for life. Whatever is published is published. However, it is always evolving, like research. When is research ever really done? One of the things that is the scariest about this project is that at any point my philosophies can change. But I also think not knowing the answer to how or when it will happen is the best part. I can't wait to see how this grows, and I invite you to be confused by me. As always, hasta luego. Romo de Ashley, or Ashley Romo.